Hey, what is going on, guys? Over at Stealth here, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down the ultimate Echo guide for season 10. So I'm a Masters slash Grandmasters Echo main. I've got over 1,000,000 points on the champion, so I'm pretty experienced on the pick. We're going to be going over the best runes for him, best build, combos, tips and tricks, summoner spells, best bans, how to play him in the early game, the mid game, and the late game. So everything you need to know about Echo. And if you guys have any questions at all about the video, or if you just want to learn more about Echo, then best way to reach me is over on my stream on Twitch. I'll have a link down in the description below if you guys want to check it out. Breaking down the rune page for Echo, you're really not going to want to interchange very much here in the primary page. So the Electrocute is going to be best rune for him every single game. Sudden Impact, you can swap this out for Cheap Shot if you want a little bit more early game damage. Cheap Shot, I'm pretty sure, does do a bit more damage in the early levels, but most Echo mains do run Sudden Impact. I just run Sudden Impact every single game. Eyeball Collector here, and then Ravenous Hunter. Some people do swap Ravenous for Ultimate Hunter, but I like Ravenous. The sustain you get from it is really, really nice in the mid to late game. And then for secondary runes, this is where it's kind of important, or it's a lot more important. You can switch things up depending on the situation. So you want to be running Minion Dematerializer, at least once you get to mid to high elo. This is definitely a strategy you want to use, because by running Minion Dematerializer, if you use all three of them on the back wave, once you hit level 7, you can start one-shotting the back wave if you go for a specific build setup as well. If you go for Darkseal Doran's Ring on your first base, and then you go towards a Revolver, you're going to have enough AP and with the Demats on the back wave to one-hit that back wave, and it just allows for you to start wave clearing really nicely earlier on in the game. It allows for you to shove waves out, look for roam opportunities. So this is why a lot of Echo mains, like most Echo mains, do run Dematerializer as a key secondary rune. Now you can swap out the boots here though for the Time Lord Tonic. If you're in a more difficult matchup, if you want more sustain, you can take this. I like to run the boots though in most games. I'm pretty confident that I can survive like early game on Echo. So running like the free boots there is just so nice. It allows you to hit your mid game spike a lot sooner. Now you can go for, this is a page you'll see a lot of low elo Echo players run. They'll go like Absolute Focus, Gathering Storm. It's a completely fine page. It's viable for sure. You can also run like Scorch here with Absolute Focus. So you can try out these two different pages here. This is the page though, Minion Dematerializer and Time Warp, that most Echo mains run. It is the one that the best Echo player in the world does right now. So if you want to copy him, and if you want to copy what most of the best Echo players run, then this is the page I would look to take. Let's move on to breaking down the build setup now for your Echo. It's going to be Corrupting Potion start every game. Don't swap that out for anything really. You do have a bit of a weaker early game on the champion, so by going Corrupting Potion allows for you to sustain through that early game. First base is going to be Darkseal and Doran's Ring. You want to be going for this if you're going for that Dematerializer strat, because you need the AP from these two items here to be able to one hit the back wave at level 7. So you want to go for these two items. So you want to be aiming like your first base, if possible, you want to be aiming for 750 gold to pick up these two items. Now after you get your Darkseal and your Doran's Ring, it depends on the situation. So I like to go for a Seeker's Arm Guard in games to where I'm up against an AD mid and an AD jungle. If they have like a Talon mid and they have something like a Graves jungle, going for a Seekers is really good in that situation. Just a lot of value out of this item. It's a very cost efficient item. A lot of the times I don't end up building this into Zhonya's. I just sit on Seekers throughout the entire game because it's just very, very cost efficient. Definitely look to go for this, especially if you're up against like a full enemy AD composition. Just look to go for a Seeker's Rush after your Darkseal and your Doran's Ring, and just sit on that for the rest of the game. You don't have to build it into a Zhonya's, which I don't in a lot of my games. Now if you don't go for Seekers though, you want to be going for a Hextech Revolver in games to where you're up against an AP mid, or if you don't need any armor at all. If you're not against heavy AD, you go for the Revolver Rush, you go into Protobelt, and then you go into your Lichbane. Protobelt and Lichbane are your two core items. You pretty much don't want to pass up on those. You want to go for those every single game. For your boots on Echo, it's going to be Sorks or Mercs. If the enemy team has a lot of AP, if they also have a lot of like crowd control, then Mercs are usually really good. If they have like 2 AP and then a ton of crowd control on their team, definitely look to go Merc Treads. If they have like no AP at all and a little bit of crowd control, I'd probably go Sorks in that situation. So you kind of have to like, you got to look at the enemy team composition. I usually like to decide what boots I'm going to go in the loading screen. So take a look in the loading screen, see if they have a lot of AP, see if they have a lot of crowd control, and decide what boots you're going to go before you even load into the game. Now, later on in the game, after you finish your Proto Ball and your Lich Bane, I usually like to go Rabadons as my third item. If the enemy team's stacking a lot of MR, you can go Void Staff. If they have a lot of healing, you can go Morellonomicon. But by going Rabadon's third item, really, really good one-shot potential there. You can just start one-popping enemy squishies with just an EQ auto combo. So it's just really, really strong. I don't like to go Zhonya's. Zhonya's is a noob trap item on Echo. You'll see a lot of like low elo Echo players or just non-Echo mains go for Zhonya's as their third item, and situationally it can be fine if you're up against like a very heavy AD comp, or if they have like say a Zed or a Fizz. I think it's fine in that situation, but most games just go for Rabadons. You already have good survivability with your ultimate, especially once you hit that point into the game as well. Your ultimate's on what, like a 50-second cooldown, 60-second cooldown, so you don't need the extra survivability from the Zhonya's, because you do have that from your ultimate. Now, as for summoner spells on Echo, it's going to be flash every single game, but for your second summoner spell, it's going to be between the teleport and the ignite. Once you get up to about diamond and above, I think that's the point to where you can start running teleport more on Echo, because you do get punished a lot more for your weaker early game, especially if you're in a ranged matchup. Say you're going up against a good Orianna player, she's going to bully you extremely hard in the early game, and the teleport is really nice there so that you can just sustain through your early game easier, and so you don't fall behind super far. Now, for the lower elos though, anywhere from like Iron to Platinum, I think you can get away with running Ignite pretty much every single game. You can run the teleport if you're not like as confident on your Echo, but I just think that Ignite is way easier to use on the champion. It's just way more consistent, right? You need to be able to actually use teleport effectively in order to make it work, so it depends on the player, right? If you want to put the time into teleport, and if you want to really learn how to use it, it can be very strong for you. But if you just want to take one summoner spell every single game that's very consistent for you, then just run the Ignite. Alright, so if we start off here by taking a look at a couple key combos for Echo, the first one is going to be your EQ animation cancel, and this is one you need to learn how to do. This is your bread and butter combo on Echo. So what you're going to do is you're going to E and then Q immediately after, and it's going to animation cancel your Q, so it's just a nice fluid motion, just a nice fluid combo. So I'll show you guys here on this target dummy. You're going to E and then Q right after, just like this. And this is what you're going to do to trade in the laning phase, and just when you're trying to jump onto a target throughout the game, this is the combo you want to use. You don't want to use like your E and then your Q after, because it's just not fluid, right? If you use E and then Q after, then you just waste a little bit of time, and you just want to make sure that you're just using EQ, so it's just a nice fluid motion like that. Now, another little quick trading tool you can use in the laning phase, if you're up against a melee matchup and they come into auto range of you, you can auto Q E to get a really quick passive proc off. So I'll show you guys right here on this target dummy. You can just auto Q and then E, and it's just a quick little trade. You can only really do this in melee matchups though. If the enemy is ranged, you're not just going to walk up and auto them, but if you're in a melee matchup and they just like walk up into auto range, you can just use this combo here to get a nice passive proc off and a nice little trade. You can do the same thing with your W as well. You can E immediately after W, and you're going to animation cancel your W, so just like this here, E and then W right after, and it's just a nice fluid motion. If you're trying to escape a situation and you end up like using your W and you stand still for that split second, it could give the enemy a little bit of time to catch up to you. So it's just good to try to get into the habit of, if you're trying to escape or something, just use your EW like this, and it's just going to allow for you to not waste any time at all when you're trying to back out. You can also use it as well like in the laning phase if you're getting ganked, or if your jungler's ganking for you and you're trying to engage on the opponent. You can use this combo as well to try to gap close onto the opponent, so you can use it in a bunch of different situations. Now, once you hit later on in the game, a good combo that you can look to use is just comboing your E with your flash to get a really long range like stun off. So say for example you use your stun like super long range or something, you see the opponents there, you can use E and then flash into it to just get this really long range engage off. And in the mid to late game, if you can find that combo like on a squishy target, or if you can find the enemies grouped up in a choke right here and you can just like E flash onto them, get a 2.25 second stun, I'm pretty sure it is now. It's 2.25 seconds. It was 2.5, but they nerfed it, so it's just really strong if you can use that combo in the mid to late game. Now, what you can also do as well, if you're not just able to straight up EQ on top of the opponent, say you're like really low on HP, or the enemy team has a lot of crowd control and you're not just able to use that combo to jump right on the opponent, what you can do is you can just like fish with the Q, right? If both parts of your Q hit and you have your passive proc ready, you could just jump in with your E like that, proc your passive. So you can use this one a lot of times. You'll use it when like the enemy is chasing you down or something. You just like throw your Q back. If both parts of the Q hit, you walk in, you go for a passive proc there with your E, and you can get like a really big chunk off by doing that. So you don't always just want to use your EQ animation cancel. It does depend on the situation. Now, a combo you can look to use with your Proto Belt, if you're trying to jump onto the opponent, right, and say they have a gap closer, if you EQ on top of them, and then they like gap close away, you can use your Proto Belt, right, to close the gap and proc your passive. So it's kind of hard to show on the target dummy here, but a lot of the time how you want to use your Proto Belt is you just want to use it to stay on top of the target. So you EQ on top of them like that, you use your Proto Belt right after, and you can just stick onto your target really well and help you proc your passive. Now, also really important to note that you can reposition your Q with all of your mobility spells. So for example, if I throw my Q out like this, right, it's gonna miss, like it's gonna come back to me, it's just gonna miss. I don't get a single passive proc off on the opponent, but what's gonna happen a lot of the time is you're gonna throw your Q out, it's gonna miss from time to time, but you can use your E, right? And you can use it to reposition your Q so that you get an extra passive stack and so that your Q on return hits the target. You can also do this with Proto Belt. So say for example, it's gonna miss here. I can use Proto Belt to get in range there to help me proc my passive. Same thing with Flash, so just keep that in mind when you are playing Echo. Now, really important for when you're split pushing on Echo, fast way to shove the wave is just use your Q, right? And if you got your Proto Belt, then you use your Q, you just Proto Belt forward here, and you just instantly pretty much take out a wave. So make sure you're doing that if you need to like instantly clear out a wave, like Q through the wave and then just Proto Belt forward, and you're gonna pretty much instantly clear it out. So I'll show you guys on this wave as well here. Just Q, Proto Belt forward, and it's pretty much just instant clearance of the wave. Now, if we go over a couple tips and tricks now for Echo, there's not too many super intricate like tricks you can do on the champion, but one thing that you can do is if you're in lane with Echo and you want to get a quick base in and you want to get right back to lane, if your TP is down or something, then what you can do is you can just base, right? You can buy your items super quickly. And you have to be level 6 for this, but you just buy your items super quick and then you just ult back to lane. You can ult back to lane and you can continue pressuring. So if you're in a very easy matchup, if you don't think you need your ultimate, or if you have the enemy like very low, if you've like pressured them under tower, if you've got them very low and you can just ult back and be full HP, that's a good situation to use it. If you're going even in lane though, or if you're like losing lane, if the enemy is still like full HP, then most of the time like I wouldn't use ult back to lane. If you feel more vulnerable, if you don't feel super safe, then I wouldn't be using ult back to lane. Now, a little stun trick here with your W, you're not going to use this very often, but it's just good to know at least that you can do this. What you can do is you can stun with your W by using your ultimate through it without actually landing inside of it. So I'll show you guys how to do this here if that was a little bit too complicated, but what you can do here is you can use your W, right? You can go through it, and then as it comes down, you can ult back. And notice that it stuns the target, right? I'm not even inside of my W, but it still ends up stunning the target because I went through my W on the way back. So you're not going to use this in too many situations, but you can just keep it in mind, right? As your W comes down there, you can ult back and you can get the stun off without actually having to be inside of your W. Now, probably the most advanced and most difficult Echo trick in the game is you don't actually level your ultimate when you hit level 6. This isn't something that I do. It's only something that like the very best Echo players do. I'm pretty sure the best Echo player in the world does this, but it's very difficult to get used to because what you do is you don't level your ult and you kind of just have to think about, okay, where is the ult? You just gotta kind of have it in your brain, like where were you 4 seconds ago? And by doing this, like it doesn't show your shadow, right? This is the main reason to why you do it, because it doesn't show where your clone is 4 seconds previous. It doesn't show the enemy where you could ult back to them. So if you really can, if you can just get used to this, knowing where you were 4 seconds ago, it can give you an advantage in certain situations. Say for example, you trade in the laning phase onto the opponent, you get them super low and they don't see your ultimate, and then you just level your ultimate and then you ult back into them, then you could just get a free kill in laning phase like that. So there's certain situations to where this can come in handy, but it's not something you need to use. Like if you don't know how to do this, it's not going to make you a worse Echo player. It's just something that can take your Echo to the next level. Now let's move on to going over a couple more difficult wall hops with Echo. I feel like most walls in the game it's pretty obvious as to whether or not you can jump over them, right? Like this wall right here, very easy, very standard to jump over. Same with this wall right here. Like a lot of the walls, you can easily tell that you could jump over them, but there is a couple different wall hops in the game that you might not know that you can jump over them. So we're going to go over those right now. This one right here is one that it's a little bit difficult to do, but it can definitely save you a lot of time. Instead of having to go all the way up to this wall right here and then jump over right here, what you can do is you can jump from here over to here. If you just put your cursor like inside this little crevice right here, like right inside there, if you put it right there, then you can just wall hop immediately right over here. So if you're coming from this direction and you want to hop over there, instead of going all the way up to the wall here, what you can do is you can just come in right into here, and then you can just wall hop right over. So that's a little one that a lot of people might not know they can do. Another really big one to learn is just right here. This one is not too difficult on this side of the map. It's more difficult if you're on this side over here. But what you do is you put your cursor into where these, I don't know what these even are here, some mushrooms or something. You put your cursor in these purple mushrooms, then you just jump over the wall right here. This is a really big one, especially like if you're on red side and you're controlling Baron. If you can like just get vision in this bush here, see the enemies like over here coming into this choke, what you can do is you can just like E over here. Okay, I just failed it, so it's not the most easiest wall hop, right? But you want to put your cursor like usually like right here, jump towards these blue mushrooms or whatever, and you can get over there. But yeah, you can use this wall hop to catch the enemies if they're in this choke. So you just use your W like that. You wall hop over, you can flash in, get some nice picks in the mid to late game by using that wall hop. And then over here, this is the final one. This is probably the most difficult wall hop in the game for me. I tend to mess it up in a lot of my games, but you can jump over this thick wall right here. So if you're, again, like if the enemies are coming in for dragon or something, what you can do, you can line up your W like that. You can jump over this wall and you can get a stun. So the positioning of your cursor, it needs to be like on the edge of the grass right there, or just a little bit inside the edge of the grass. So put it like right there. And then you can hop over the wall. You want to hop over in like this direction right here. Try to like put your cursor on the other side, like right about here. It's a lot easier to do on this side, I find. So you put your cursor like right there about, and then you can wall hop over this way. If you don't do it like correctly though, like watch if I put it like, say if I'm right here, like you can jump over right there as well. But in certain areas, like right, if you're just not quite like putting your cursor in the correct position, say you're like right here, like you won't be able to jump over, right? So you need to get it like in between, like where this little what is this even, like this little indent right here where it goes from like here to like here. You want to have your cursor like at least somewhere in there, and then you can hop over. And then make sure on this side, like if you put your cursor inside the bush here more, like it's a little bit more difficult to do. Sometimes you'll mess it up. So if you just try to put your cursor right here, it's going to work pretty much every time. You want to be as close to the wall as possible when you jump. If you end up jumping like when you're not super close to the wall, if you like go a little bit too early, you're not going to make it over. So for example, if I just jump like too early and mess it up, then I'm not going to get over the wall. So you need to be snug right up against the wall, and then you want to use your E. So that's one. Go into practice duel, practice this one yourself. It's a really key one to get down and to learn. So this wall hop here is honestly one that I wouldn't really recommend like even doing in games because it's so difficult to get. You need to put your character like right in this position to where I am right here. So I guess right at the edge of like this rock right here, and then you need to like put your cursor right over there, and you can get it like this. If I don't do it like perfectly like this though, then I'm not gonna get it. If I just move like slightly to the right or something, right? I'll move my character slightly to the right, like I'm not gonna get it. It's this very, very specific spot right here, and it's like unless you get right into that spot, you're not gonna make this wall hop. If you like go over here, like you're not gonna make it. So this is one I honestly like. You can use it in game, like if you can go into practice tool, practices yourself, really get it down, you can use it. But honestly, like if you get into a situation to where you need to get over this wall, I'd honestly just use your flash. It's just gonna be way more consistent, and you're most likely like if you try to use this wall hop like right there, I don't even get it. If you try to use this in game, you're probably just gonna mess up on it. And then one last one that I feel like a lot of people probably don't know of is you can wall hop over the raptor pit, like right here. If you put your cursor at the very edge of the wall here, and you put your cursor on the other side, right about where these blue, I don't know, are these like flowers or something? You just put your cursor right there, and you can hop over this wall. So this is a really good one if the enemy is like sitting under tower or something, and your team's looking to siege down or something like that. Then you can sit on the other side of this wall here. You can wait, you can put your W down. If you got your ultimate up, then you can just like jump over the wall, get a nice engage off on them, and just surprise them there with a wall hop that a lot of people like aren't going to expect you to come from this position as Echo. Now, if we talk a little bit about best bans for Echo at the moment, his most difficult matchup, Kassadin is the one champion I ban every single game. If you're just looking for one ban on Echo to use every game, I would use it on Kassadin. You don't beat him early game, you don't beat him mid to late game, so it's just a really good ban for Echo. Fizz is also a pretty good ban. He's a very difficult early matchup for Echo. Fizz with his E makes it pretty much impossible for you to proc your passive in the laning phase, so he can just jump on you and win every single trade, and there's just nothing you can really do. Yasuo is also an annoying matchup because of his wind wall. You can't really proc your passive because he just blocks that with your Q, so it's very difficult to win trades into Yasuo. Talon's early game is also pretty annoying to deal with, and I'd say that Galio as well. Those are like the 5 most difficult matchups for Echo at the moment, so you can choose between those 5, but if I were to recommend one ban, it would be the Kassadin. Alright, so we're just going to take a look now at how you're supposed to play Echo throughout the early, the mid game, and then the late game here. So we're going to use one of my replays of a game I had on Echo yesterday, actually. This is around like a Master Grandmaster game, so in this matchup here, we're going up against Zoe, and your main objective in the early game with Echo a lot of the time is just to stay up and farm with your Q. Don't get poked too much level 1, just sit back, use Q to farm. If you're in a melee matchup, like certain melee matchups, you can play more aggressive level 1, level 2. But most of your matchups, especially against Zoe here, like you don't want to take any unnecessary poke at level 1. You kind of just want to make sure that you're just staying up in as much CS as possible and aim for that 750 gold. If you can survive until 750 gold, base and TP, and then just TP back to lane, have your Dark Seal, have your Doran's Ring there, then that's to where you can start to play more aggressive in the laning phase because you have the extra health there from your Doran's Ring. You got a lot more AP, and you have some really good sustain there from your Doran's Ring and your Corrupting Potion. So right here, first wave, I'm just looking to farm it with Q, right? I think I hit all the minions there with my Q. Don't want to take any unnecessary poke from Zoe. Take a little bit of damage there, but it's fine. I'm staying up in CS. We can actually bring this scoreboard up here as well. So I start the Corrupting Potion here, and I'm just sitting back. I'm playing really safe, just using my Q to farm. I want to let Zoe push into me. I don't want to try to push into her because I just want to stay safe in the laning phase, not be vulnerable to a gank from Graves or anything. So I think I actually end up hitting all CS here, so I get every single CS on the first 2 waves. And I mean, if you can do that with Echo every game, then that's obviously ideal, but a lot of the time you're not going to be able to do that. Like a lot of the time you're going to miss CS on the first wave if the enemy is pressuring you, if you're just not able to walk up for CS. So don't be too discouraged. Like don't get discouraged at all if you end up losing like 3 or 4 CS on the first wave with Echo. Alright, so I'm on 700 gold right now after this wave here because I'm pretty sure I almost CS this perfectly. Okay? This is one of the best games I've had CS-wise on Echo in a little while, but I almost CS'd it perfectly, and I have 707 gold if I CS this well here, which I'm pretty sure I do. I missed like 1, or actually I think I'm able to, yeah, I get that one with DMAT. So that's how you can use your DMAT, right, on the back wave there. If you're not going to be able to get one, like I don't want to walk up to auto that, so he's just going to chunk me really hard. She could, I don't know, if Graves is around, like I could die. So that's how you can use your DMAT, but I got 779 gold now, right? So I'm just looking to base here, just back off base, grab your Dark Seal, grab your Doran's Ring, and then just head back to lane. And now I can just look to pressure Zoe because she doesn't have teleport, right? She's running exhaust this game. So if I TP back to lane now with my Doran's and my Dark Seal, then I can just start pressuring her really well. Now, really important thing to do as well when you usually on your first base is Echo, or at least before level 7, make sure you do grab a sweeper. You want to swap out your warding totem for a sweeper so that when you're looking for roam opportunities or looking for flank opportunities, you can just make sure you're not on any vision so that you can make those plays a lot more successful. Now, once you hit your Proto Belt and your tier 2 boots, this is to where you can start playing more aggressive. You can look for certain dive plays with Echo. You can look to like just play way more aggressive under the enemy's tower, because if you got your ultimate, if you hit your W on the opponent, then you can just play super aggressive. So what me and Vi are going to look to do here is we're just going to look to dive the Zoe, right? I think I played this a little bit too quick. I could have just waited for the wave to crash there and then jumped on her, but nonetheless, she has to, because I jumped in, she has to go away from her tower, or else if I would have cut her off. So you can just make those like super aggressive plays with Echo once you do end up hitting this spike, and you can just start diving, playing off your ultimate cooldown. As long as your ultimate is up, then you can play very aggressive with the pick. Alright, so we're 19 minutes into the game now, and I've got my Proto Bolt, my Lich Bane, and my Merc Treads. This is to where you hit the biggest spike in the game for Echo, or I guess you could argue like Rabadon's once you complete that. That's a really big spike for him too, but this is your really nice mid-game spike here on Echo now. So what I want to look to do here is I just want to side lane. I want to make sure I'm staying up in XP, staying up in CS, so I don't want to like group with my team mid. I want to shove in the side wave and then decide what to do based on like what my team's doing or based on what the enemy team is doing. So right here, I'm just shoving in the side wave, I'm sweeping vision, I'm looking for like a flank opportunity mid if the enemy overextends or something. And then if I don't see anything here, right, don't really see anything, or actually I do see something here, so Zoe overextends, I come in for a flank, use my W as a zone tool there, and we pick up some really free kills here. I think I killed the Zilean, flash auto onto him here, we end up killing the Zoe. So that's what you want to do with Echo, right? Shove in the side wave, look to roam towards mid. I use my sweeper in the river, so they had no vision on me, they didn't know I was coming there, and then we just pick up a really nice flank play, and we end up having now a 5v3 for our team. They end up trying to engage here on our Varus. Our Varus dies, which has been unfortunate, but they overextend here. Pretty sure we end up picking up both these kills, or at least one of them. I think I have to like E in here for the kill on Graves, so I ult there as well because I'm not too sure if I'm going to end up dying to that last tower shot. But yeah, that's just a really nicely executed play there. Shove in side lane with Echo, look to flank mid. If they're not overextended mid, right, if Zoe and Zilean weren't there, I would have just went back bot, shoved in bot, looked for another opportunity mid. You just want to rinse and repeat that with Echo in the mid game here, and you're going to find really good success by doing that. Alright, so mid to late game fights now with Echo, you're just either looking for picks from Fog with your W, or you're looking for flank opportunities, right? So notice how I'm using my sweeper right now. I'm trying to see like if I'm on any vision or not. I'm not on any vision, so that's really good for me. Whenever you're looking for flanks, you want to be using your or you want to be using your sweeper like that. I think I jump over there to block the Zoe Q so Bard doesn't end up dying, but right here, this is where we end up winning the game, so this is a perfect fight for our team. Notice how the enemy team is like in a choke right here. This is such a good spot to fight with Echo. If you can use your W in this choke here, which I end up doing, and if you can catch multiple members, you just solo win games with this champion. So we'll play this out here. We'll play it a little bit slower. So notice the enemy team here. We go for a Bard ult. It ends up missing. A little bit unfortunate, but it's all good. So I end up using my W to where I think the enemy team is gonna go, right? You always want to be using your W where you anticipate the enemy to move, not to where they've been. So I use my W to where I think they're going to be going here, and then they end up just playing in the choke. I jump in, nice 3-man stun off there, get a stun on all 3 of these members, focus the high priority target first, so I go on the Kalista first here, combo her, then we go on to Graves. I proto belt in the wrong direction honestly there, so it's a bit of a misplay, but we still get the Graves. And then we end up winning the game off of this play. So that's what you want to do with Echo mid to late game, right guys? You just want to be looking for flank opportunities with your W, pop your sweeper, make sure you're not on any vision, and if you can find those picks with your W later on in the game, then you're just going to have a ton of success on the champion. Alright, so that is going to round out the video, guys. Hopefully this does give you a very good understanding of how to play Echo. If you have any further questions, or if you do just want to learn more about Echo, you can always stop by my stream. Link is down in the description below. I'm always super active with my chat, so if you got any questions at all, feel free to stop by the stream. But with that being said, guys, if you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you've yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.